To Startup Club. Today we're talking about Chat GPT experts and startups looking for the next wave. Think about catching the next technology wave, the next big technology shift. This is a show called The Serial Entrepreneur Secrets Revealed. It's a live show and podcast, and it's a special edition show. We normally run the show every Friday at 2 o'clock Eastern. Today we're running it Wednesday, 2 o'clock Eastern, because of the holidays. And quite frankly, because of the technology. This Chat GPT is really going to be a huge game changer. We are talking about something that every startup, that every company in the world will be using. And we're going to talk a little bit more about those use cases as we go throughout the day today. Our fellow moderators are joining us right now on stage. Thank you, Jeffrey Sass, Samantha Glover, Michelle Van Tilborg, for joining us on Serial Entrepreneur Secrets Revealed. And I'm Colin C. Campbell. We're going to have some real fun today. Now, if you are an expert on GPT, or you've tried it out and you've experienced it, we want to hear from you on stage. This is a call out for the community to come together and figure it out how startups can really benefit from this technology shift. We call this a paradigm shift. We had Jeffrey Moore on this podcast, who wrote the book Inside the Tornado and Crossing the Chasm. And I believe this is a watershed moment where the tornado is beginning to occur. The number of ideas and opportunities that can come from ChatGPT is absolutely phenomenal. So if you are in the audience and you think this is an interesting topic or you know of others, please share the button. It's the second button from the left, share on Clubhouse. I'm doing that right now myself. And if you also want to invite others into the room, I know I just invited Jarrett in the room. I know he's very good at this kind of stuff as well. If you want to start inviting others in the room, that would be great. And hi, Michelle,
Colin,
uh,
I'm going to
go
call.
ahead. What do you think of today's show?
Colin, I'm going to call you out on one thing. This room says calling Chat GPT experts. There's no such thing as a Chat GPT expert. This thing is so new, so fresh, so young. AI as a whole industry is still in its infancy. No one is an expert yet. Everyone is learning, including the people who created the platform. So I'm just going to call you out on that. We want people who are interested in it and who've been experimenting with it, but I don't think an expert in the true sense of the word even exists yet. That's just my opinion. I'll ask ChatGPT what he or she thinks.
Michelle, what do you think of the show before we get going here? I mean, have you played with Chat GPT yourself, Michelle?
Yes, I have actually. I've used it for some content creation, specifically a blog. And I was just completely floored to realize like the capability that they've built up already. And it was so easy to use. So I'm very excited to hear what people think the future is here and how they can use it in their business as well as a startup, because I really believe we've only scratched the surface. And I just want to mention something before we start going that maybe will entice some people to get up on the stage and talk here is OpenAI. If you go to openai.fund, OpenChat actually has started already investing in companies, including startups and concepts to help fund them that are building businesses around this technology. One of them, I bet a lot of people here has heard of, which is Descript. We actually use it here in the office. And if you get a second, you should look at the kind of companies and what these folks are doing, so you can get a sense of the power of this. And again, I believe it's really just the beginning. So I'm excited to hear people's ideas. I'm excited to hear from Samantha, who is our resident data scientist, very data driven research marketing person as well, because I want to hear from Sam, like how hard this is to implement and how hard it is to do business with. So I'm super excited. And before I pass it back to you, Colin, I just want to note that OpenAI themselves, in a recent press release, said they expect to make $200 million in revenue next year, which is 2023, and $1 billion in 2024. So clearly, if I think you'd have to be under a rock, Colin, honestly, to not have heard of what's going on in the space here. But it's really exciting times, and I think some really cool opportunities for folks. Thank you.
Yeah, and so one of the things or opportunities that may exist, and look, it's all experimenting. You're right, Jeff. There are no experts, um, but we're going to attempt to convert the transcript of this show into a white paper or a mini book. And if you want a copy of it, and it's going to be run through GPT, if you want a copy of it, we will send you a copy via email. Just go to www.startup.club and you'll get not just a transcript, but a GPT written white paper on this topic. This is a time in history, and it comes every few years. You get something really big. This is one of those times in history where entrepreneurs can move fast and quick and gain market share before the big companies begin to move on it. All right, so Samantha, I know Michelle, you're going to ask Samantha a few questions. Maybe the first question I can ask you, Samantha, I know you have a background in AI, but can you just tell us from your perspective what this Chat GPT is?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful to be here. Well, essentially, ChatGPT is what's called a language model, and it's what's called a pre-trained transformer or a neural network machine learning model that processes language, and it has an intelligent comprehension of you know natural language text sequentially using internet data. Although it doesn't search the internet, as they clearly stated, it's trained on a lot of data that's on the internet. So depending on the circumstances, it really needs really very small input data in order to generate high quality, relevant, large volumes of sophisticated outputs. But much like Michelle, or I believe it was Jeffrey, that stated, there aren't many forecast data sets, even though they have over 1 million users, in regards to different types of use cases to adequately say what type of use cases are the most beneficial. But the interesting thing about ChatGPT and conversational AI in general, because ChatGPT is a form of conversational AI, is that the more data that you give it and the more you interact with it, it's going to continue to learn and grow in its performance. And it has decision making skills, the ability to identify patterns the more that you have interaction with it. Or if you're using it for customer service, is going to have more on that aspect. So I didn't want to get too techy, but it's essentially, it's a language model. It's GPT 3.5 more specifically, and there's other models that people are discussing about later on. But language models, they have I won't go all into that, but that's specifically what it is. It's a language model, NLP model for a chatbot. Unless you want me to go more into it.
No,
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 it's cool.
I think that's good.
I like the fact it could write a poem. And I know this is, hokey a little bit maybe, but one of the first applications I said was to write a poem. And it was amazing. I mean, you put some hobbies in, what they like, and the dogs, and the name of their dogs, and it writes the most amazing poem. And just in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I actually showed up to a birthday party with no present. This was like 2 weeks ago because I left it in Florida. I flew up to Toronto, and she's been friends with us, my wife and I, for 20 years. And I went to the party. I had nothing, and so I wrote this poem and printed it out and handed it to her. It took me 20 seconds to write it, and she loved it. She like tearing up, literally. And anyway, it's funny how this a technology like that can do stuff that's way beyond human capability.
But not only that, Colin, when it comes to the creative things it can do, it's persistent, so you can do follow-up queries and it remembers what the last one was. So when you write your poem, and I've done this myself a few times, you can write the poem and then say, now make it funny. And that's all you have to type in. Now make it funny. And it knows what you're referring to, and it'll go back and rewrite that poem and make it funny. Or you could say, now do it in the style of Shakespeare. And then it'll rewrite the poem with thou and thou art and all the Shakespearean flourish that you could imagine. So you can continue to revise the output without having to start from the beginning, which makes it extremely powerful.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. I mean, it just seems, there's no bounds to it except our imagination, I would say at this point. So very cool. So Sam, here's another question for me, because I immediately go to, oh my gosh, how difficult is this? Is this something that actually could be done like as a prototype or easily with a developer? I mean, so Sam, how difficult is it to like embed this into, let's just say, a product? For example, maybe one where we are, I see a lot of people talking about using it for customer service apps. How difficult is it to get chat into one of our products?
Absolutely, it's very easy, and you know, it's you have very little to no engineering efforts for this type of product, and that was essentially their goal in order to make it very not only user friendly for the consumer, but also for businesses where they can integrate it with their technology, their applications in order to implement customer service. So it's something that's going to be very easy to adopt to your business model.
That's very cool. So I know I actually signed up for the developers kit. I'm not a developer myself. I pretend to be one, but I noticed that it looked pretty straightforward, and there's a lot of functionality and tabs. So I'm curious from you, Sam, before we move on, and we've got a great amount, some really cool members that are coming up here on stage. Sam, like, using your imagination, which I know you have a very vivid imagination, like what would you say is one of the top use cases that you think Chat GPT could function under?
Thank you so much for that question, Michelle. Well, I think one of the starter ones could be customer service, because obviously you'll save on time. You'll also be able to, there's so many data sets that show how consumers, their sentiment and how they feel about customer service, not only as relates to bad AI chatbots, but also if the customer service is outsourced, if there's any types of maybe communication barriers. So the interesting thing about chat gpt and AI and in general is easier and it's faster to train a model than it would be a human being. And in most cases, customer service reps, they're reading from a script anyway. So being that chat gpt has this wide range of data, you can not only save on time, you can also add a form of personalization that's custom to the customer, if that makes sense. And then you also have ed tech and online education. There's so much creativity where consumers or people that are purchasing education online, where they can have like a customized interaction to be able to ask questions and to have a form of education through the technology. Also, there's market research. There's plenty of use cases in the medical field as well. So I guess I'll land it there, but the list goes on. I didn't want to overlap what Jeffrey mentioned about poetry, blogs, and articles, but there's so many use cases.
What about coding?
Absolutely. Coding as well, being able to help troubleshoot certain types of problems. I asked a question regarding a particular script, so that's also a great one as well.
Well, that's crazy. All right, so if you're in the audience and you have a GPT story, and I know you do, please raise your hand. We want you on stage. We're really going to make this interactive. We're going to move pretty quickly around the audience. If you have a question for Samantha, sort of a technical one, or if you just want to share your GPT story, again, please raise your hand. And the second icon from the bottom, there's 15 people who've already shared this room. If you think this is an important topic for other startups or other people you know, please share the room at the bottom. Let's try to get to 30 shares by the end of this. And again, we're trying to create a white paper. Maybe this is the first time ever. Clubhouse, take the transcript, put it through GPT, and create a white paper or a mini book. It sounds too good to be true, a mini book, right? But on use cases and what you can do to use GPT. I'm using the short form here, but GPT to help start a new business or within an existing startup. And I'm going to just tell you a couple examples. I was talking to a friend this morning and I told him about ChatGPT, and he has a press release company that he uses out of the Philippines. And Jeff knows who I'm talking about. He may be in the audience right now. But the Philippines, as you may know, they are often error prone. And so if you can take what they do, essentially the content, and have them rewrite that content, have them be a professional editor. And by the way, I've tested that out. I've gone in with some of my stuff and just had them edit it, and it sounded amazing. That's one use case. And there are probably 1,000 use cases or opportunities for startups and entrepreneurs out there. This is a historic moment in time. And the entrepreneurs, the startups, the founders who move quickly on this technology can benefit from it greatly. All right, let's hit you up, Ramona, on your thoughts on ChatGPT. We really want to hear if you have any stories or thoughts. I know I've got like 4 or 5 other stories I want to share, but I don't want to hog the microphone. So, Ramona, I'm glad you're on stage. If you could share with us your story or have a question for Samantha.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me, Colin. And thank you, Samantha, and those of you who pinged me in. However, I don't have a personal story where I personally used it myself, but I have been in rooms where others have used it, such as Heather, right here on stage with us right now. She actually created a poem right there live on stage, just took a screenshot or information from I think it was my bio. I don't remember whose bio she used, took the information from the bio, and created it did create a poem directly from that information. So for musicians, for example, who's looking for different lyrics to add to music, I'm just thinking of all of the different ways. For us, like you just said, mini books or ebooks that can be created in minutes. All you do is just put the title and some main subject matter topics in it, and then an ebook is created in minutes. So I wholeheartedly agree with you, Colin, that it's going to be those people who are awake right now, who are listening in, paying attention. I had several rooms that I could have popped into right now, women supporting women and all sorts, which is my lane of genius. But I saw this room and said, you know what? I'm popping into this room right now, getting this information so that I now know, for one, to stay on the cutting edge of technology and innovation. Two, so that I now know what is available to me and my businesses, as well as those people who come to me for support and things of that nature, and how I can better help them and take our businesses to a whole nother level. So that's what I am here for, and that is what you guys are providing. So I definitely thank you and appreciate you guys having me here on stage and able to speak on the topic. So I'm Ramona, and I'm done speaking and back to listening.
Thank you, Ramona. Like, you really put it well. There is, as I think most of us feel here, a lot of opportunity. And I just want to read off a few of the companies that Chat OpenAI has already invested in. One of them is Descript. And we actually use that here at Startup Club HQ for video editing and a lot more. But they actually just introduced something called Storyboard. It is super cool. It's the coolest thing I've ever seen in terms of video editing. You can literally do vocal, by talking, do video editing. It's really, I have to say, it's mind-blowing and especially user friendly. So they really are innovating using this. Another company they have invested in is called Harvey. This is super cool, and I love this because it's very different from what you hear people talking about right now. It's an interface that allows you to manage legal workflows through language. So a really, high end, cool way to manage what is otherwise a very complex workflow. And that product is actually in beta, but already has gotten some of their funding. The next two are MEM, which is also, by the way, around organizing workspaces. So, yet another way to put things into folders, retrieve data. Like, I think that's just amazing. I don't know about everybody else here, but as much as I try to be organized, I never feel like I'm fully have, wired that system or that process where things are so easily retrievable. So I'm looking forward to seeing MEM. The other one is called Speak. Again, that one is around helping people learn new languages. And again, that's super cool. And this is something that, people have been trying to do for, my gosh, like over 30 years. I'm sure a lot of you remember like software called Nuance. I actually worked at a startup in LA that was funded by GE Capital, actually. And we were trying to do this. Oh my gosh, it was over 20 years ago, but the technology wasn't there. So I myself am really looking forward to seeing this as well. And that company is called Speak. So without further ado, let's get over to Hal. Yes, Hal, it's great to have you back on Serial Entrepreneur. Tell us
Hey,
your idea or your experience.
cool, great. And just to piggyback on what you were saying, Michelle, I believe they have another product called Wall-E. OpenAI has a visual editor. So Wall-E, check that one out. Um, the other night when somebody taught me about Chat GPT, learned about it on Clubhouse, literally stayed up all night long, never went to bed, and wrote some prompts. And the point or the message that I'm sharing with you here is twofold. Part A is, where do we get better training? Where is a list of the types of prompts we can and can't use? And I've tried a bunch of different ones, and I've broken Chat GPT a few times with some of my queries. And how do we output it? Is it literally just copy and paste, or is there a way to get the queries in and out? Now, what I found that worked really, really well with a bunch of tweaking, because I am a domain investor and we have our portfolios on Dan Landers, and there's an area where you can type copy for what your domain is. And with thousands of domains, it would take forever to even create one lander and information. So I put in, tell me about the options for this domain, and then added some things to my query or my task, and I kept upgrading the task. And finally, now I got it to the point where I can just put repeat with blank domain, and it prints everything out. And that's really great. I did it myself, but I know there's got to be some training to give me better use. So that's my comments, my thoughts. Thanks for sharing the microphone. I cleaned and sanitized the mic, and I'm going to hand it back to the moderator.
Yeah, I think it's Dolly, right? Not Wally. Is that you said Wally, Hal?
It, it could
Um,
be. I'm dyslexic, but I know it's of that. I know it's open AI, and I know it's a image AI creator.
yeah, and you start bringing this kind of technology into that as well, and it opens up a whole new area. So you're saying with domain names, would it was able to help you successfully pick innovative domain names? Is that what you're saying it
I,
could
I
do?
wasn't picking names. I'm using names in my portfolio. Give you an example. You can look at pencilx.com. And it was one that's hard to write a description for. And it came up with, based on the queries and the prompts, you'll see it gave an introduction, it gave a couple of examples, it talked about the urgency of buying a domain name now before it's gone. It talks about my phone number, my email, the benefits of using that premium domain I'm selling with their email, and then some hashtags. And all of that happens when I write rewrite with blank domain. It spits out the next one and the next one.
Oh, wow, that's so cool. I'm just confirming it is Dolly, Dall dot E. We have a Dolly 2. and that is a new AI system that can create realistic images and art from a description in natural language. I know I tried it with my King Charles. I said King Charles Spaniel on a in Christmas, da da da, and it combines an image and creates it. It's absolutely phenomenal. I just do not have an app or technology to program my dogs, and maybe they can work on that one next. May hear them in the background barking. But in any case, I want to one other story. I mean, you don't always have to start a company. A few days ago, I was sitting around having a dinner, and there's a gentleman who's worked in his industry for 20 years, and he actually owned a company, and he was leaving the company, and he wanted to send out a resignation letter to all his staff and customers, etc. And I said, well, let's write it right now. And within 2 minutes, or not even, I would say a minute, we wrote out some key points. He really cared about the customers. He's been there for 20 years, dot, dot, dot. We put it through ChatGPT, and it wrote out the most amazing resignation letter I've ever seen. I'm serious. Like, this can be an individual application. This can help us write emails. I even did one for fun. Just said, oh, to my boss, write an email to my boss saying I won't be in tomorrow because I'm sick. And it wrote all this really nice email, and it adds a lot of extra stuff to it. I don't know how it gets that extra stuff, Samantha. Like, when I did that with the just to say, I'll be sick the next day, it came in with stuff like, oh, it'd have a paragraph on, and if there's anything I can do, I'd be happy to reach out to you. Like, how does it know how to add all this extra stuff to it when you just put a few words into it? Can you maybe talk to that, Samantha? Or I don't know how they does it. That is it.
Absolutely. Well, the model or the series of models are actually trained from internet data. It doesn't, as they stated, they don't actually search and they're not looking to replace it. But there are so many different types of algorithms that could be used for these purposes, whether it's clustering, meaning people that are similar to you, whether they're making assumptions about your personality, so many different variables. So clustering algorithms will pair you or group you with people that are similar to you, and then pull and position data based on how interactions would be between in these types of scenarios, whether it's the use of text, whether it's the use of imagery, and so many different aspects. So they're trying to find similarities and they're predicting, and then based on the feedback that you would give it or any types of follow-ups that you give, that it would improve upon it. So it's complex, but it's not as complex, but they have a wide range of data to pull from in order to be able to create these outputs that are personalized to you.
So, Sam, I've read a lot about this, and there's a lot of concerns about plagiarism, right? So, do you think, and we're not holding this to you to this, but shouldn't we be running things through plagiarism checkers depending on what the context or the usage is? Like, I'd just be curious about what your thoughts are on that.
Absolutely. Well, I tried to see if I can find any data on any sentiment that people have in general as it relates to that, or any public data that they want to give on it. But I think plagiarism could be a concern, and then randomization, what you guys call, creativity. It could be creativity or it could be mimicry, where it's randomizing these different outputs, and so it gives off a sense of creativity, but may not necessarily be creative. But I think plagiarism is that. And I don't see on their website or any of their models to indicate if they're not going to, or if there's a promise to not duplicate, where it could give a similar response to other users, if that makes sense. So I do think, to answer your question in short, I do think that it should be a concern. And I personally think I would rather rely on most of my own creativity.
They did say that a watermark is coming soon.
Yeah, I heard that too. All right. So, yeah, I mean, we're not leaving our creativity at the door and letting our brain stagnate. I think, yeah, I believe that we should use this to just amplify that and maybe get a better grammatical or more creative looking form. All right. So let's go down to David.com. Tell us a little bit about your experience or your idea, David.
Yeah, I'm here. How are you, everyone?
We're great.
Well, when I saw the title of the room with Colin, Jeffrey, Michelle, Samantha, it obviously drew my attention. I have been using it for over a month and a half, probably an overall of no more than 3 hours, and it has been quite impressive because the quality of the responses are unbelievable. And I'm talking from the perspective of languages. So I have used it obviously in English, I have used it in Italian, and I have been using it in Spanish. And the amount of time that is saved putting together information and bringing out a response is incredible. So when responding into certain emails that would require probably 15 minutes, 20 minutes to give a proper response, I have gotten the response within seconds, and I have probably have to change two, three words, add a line, and just send out the response. So today I was testing it specifically for outbound responses and outbound emails for certain domains that we have gotten inquiries. And we have used it on 4 domains, and we have gotten the people to respond on those 4 outbound emails. 2 of them still under negotiation, and 2 of them they said they were going to think and get back to us. And usually in the past, when we would respond or send out outbound emails, uh, responses were not that guaranteed, or you wouldn't get them to really convey their thoughts. So instead of sending a brief email with 2 3 lines, I have one here that we sent this morning and the person already responded. It actually has 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 lines of what the chat GPT gave me. And it was quite impressive. So I do see using this also for our regular business. We represent technology companies in Latin America. And to produce information for our websites, catalogs, it is a game changer. That's what I have seen till now. I'm sure other users and applications are going to grow tremendously in the near future, but it is really quite a valuable tool. I have used other products out there, and they are all providing a great benefit. So it is more of listening to people exactly on their niche, on their application. I just see teachers from an article that I read the other day, I think in Business Insider or somewhere else, that teachers are using it to generate homework, to generate their classes. And then I see students using it at the other end to respond to those homeworks. So I don't know if at the end of the day, people are going to use their brain. Like today, you see people doing simple calculations with their cell phone calculator because their mind already is not trained even for basic 8 times 4. So I just see that a lot of people that had to put a lot of time into checking documents are just going to dump them here and see the response from the application. So I
That's
I
amazing.
just
Amazing,
I,
David.
I it's crazy what they
It's
were
crazy.
saying on the article, that somebody went to a school and 5 6 teachers were all preparing their material with this. So I don't
It's
know.
crazy. Well, I heard three things there. I heard productivity, massive improvements in productivity. I heard it could be an equalizer, especially for those who can't write quite as eloquently as Jeffrey Sass, who's up here, who's probably the best writer I know. Um, it allows anyone to potentially write a book and sound professional, or an article, or whatever it is. And it's also a sales script. And I actually wrote a fun GPT while you were talking, but I don't want to do it right now. I'll talk about it later. I wrote a sales script, and I was amazed at how good it came back. All right, Ron, we want to keep moving around. Got to keep moving here, right? So we're going to call upon you, Ron, to share with us your GPT story.
Sure thing. First of all, thank you to Samantha, Michelle, Colin, Jeffrey, and all my friends in the room. First of all, I want to wish you a healthy, happy, and fruitful holiday season in 2023 and beyond. And I'm going to be very brief because, not unlike David, we actually been utilizing the Chat GPT for about a week now, and we found that the most useful, let's say, use case for us right now is the workflow and outreach. So we're going to be using that in house for ourselves with clients, and also as a separate web app. And going forward in Q1 2023, utilize that as a SaaS model. So with that, I appreciate your time, Teron, and I'm complete for now.
Good
All
afternoon.
right,
How's everybody?
great.
We're going to jump over to Heather next. I was just in the audience trying to, see. It's amazing how many people we have in the audience today. And if you are interested in talking about your GPT story, please raise your hand, and we'll bring you on stage. We really want to make it a complete conversation on the opportunities that can come from GPT, whether it's as small as writing an email or whether it's as big as transforming an industry. Heather, we're excited you're on stage. Really appreciate your patience. Do you want to share with us your GPT story?
Thanks, Colin. Hey, Samantha, everybody else, Ramona, Ron. Hey, everybody. Oh, Fireman, what's going on? Hi. So I have been writing captions for social media content for 16 years. And this has saved my brain from having to continuously create unique, relevant social media copy, because this thing is mind blowing. I've used it to write Instagram Reels scripts, TikTok scripts. I've used copy for YouTube metadata and titles, website meta titles, meta descriptions, keyword research, hashtags, um, short form copy, LinkedIn long form copy. You can get really specific with it. So you can tell it to write you 5 unique tweets on the topic of social media. You can tell it to write 5 long form LinkedIn posts about the utilization of search engine optimization in social media. There is so much you can do with this from social media copy. And this is stuff I've done. I've been on this for about 2.5 weeks. I first saw it on TikTok and it blew my mind. I'm already utilizing it within my business. It has streamlined my business significantly. And I will say one thing though, it is not good with emoji placement. If you try to tell it, place emoji after punctuation or between sentences, it won't do that. It'll put it either at the beginning or the end. So you really want to add a human element to it before publishing it or utilizing it across platforms, because it's not really good with the emoji placement. Hopefully it'll get better, but it does churn out topical emojis. So you could ask it, write 10 emojis that have to do with food, and it'll just type it for you. The mundane tasks, I have to write out, I have a client that has 6 caption documents. This client has 6 restaurants, and they each have their own caption document for the entire month. And I have to write out Sunday, January 1, Monday, January 2, Tuesday, January 3. So I told it to write that for me. Like that, these little things are definitely helping streamline the processes. But just make sure that you are adding a human element to it, and proofreading as well before utilizing it across the internet. So this is
Do you
Heather.
think,
Thank you so much, Colin.
yeah, do you think you could actually write title tags and meta tags for a
It
website?
can, yes,
Like
it can. I've used it.
it can actually do that.
So I asked it to write me first the meta title. So write a optimized meta title for the website Heather Cox Codes for the services page. You really have to be like really like niche down on, really specific on what you tell it. You can ask it to write a optimized meta description about Heather Cox Codes located in Delaware for the about page on the website at heathercoxcodes.com. You could ask it to write me 10 optimized keywords that have relevancy to the restaurant hospitality industry. So really getting specific on asking for what you want, and like really niching down on that specific topic, because you want to go as minute and micro as possible when asking something in relation to keywords, SEO, or social media.
Yeah, but
Hello, Colin. Sorry I'm late.
is it possible it could be taking you out of a job? Is it too good where a small business no longer needs your services? We can just go to ChatGPT and type in title tags and meta tags. And I'm being a little bit fun here. I'm playing with you a bit,
I mean,
but
it could, but the thing is, you need somebody to implement these things. I've implemented it in my business for my clients, and I work with busy restaurateurs, busy real estate agents, brokers, influencers, investors, and they don't have time to be doing this stuff. They're out in the field making deals, cutting checks. And they don't have time to be fiddling with a chat GPT to make their social media content. They outsource that stuff, so they don't even have to think about it. So if you don't use the tool and add it to your toolbox, then you're just the tool who's being replaced by the AI.
yeah, I'm with you on that. I think we can all agree on that. These paradigm shifts, the more you hide from them, the more you're going to be out of business. You got to embrace them or else, right? This is great. And just to reset the room, we're talking about Chat GPT and what it is that it can do to help your startup, or you might be a new founder and you want to come up with a new business idea. There are times in history when big changes happen. We saw it with the dial-up internet, with broadband and cloud computing and social, and we saw it, again with the electrification of vehicles. We see these huge paradigm shifts, and they come, every couple of years. We saw it with social audio chat about a year and a half ago or 2 years ago. It began to just really explode, and opportunities around these big changes, there are a lot of them, and that's what we're talking about today. Just to let you know, this is actually a live show and podcast. This is the 88th episode on the Serial Entrepreneur Secrets Revealed. And we've had some incredible authors from Vern Harnish, who's one of the top consultants in the world for scaling up, to the founder of Reebok. On I think a couple of weeks ago, we had the founder of Reebok on, and they're just incredible. If you really want to learn more about your startup, this is a podcast you can check out. And we're going to attempt And I say attempt because we already did some early attempts to convert entire transcripts into white papers and mini books, but we'll chunk this one out so we can actually don't break the servers or whatever you call it, overload them. But we're going to attempt to make this an ebook as well. And if you want a copy of it, please go to www.startup.club, and Michelle, maybe we can pin the link, and just sign up for that email list. We're going to send out copies of this next week. It's going to be all done through GPT, the transcripts, and anyone who's on stage, just to let you know, we'll have acknowledgments at the bottom of the ebook as well for your contribution. Thank you very much. All right, we're going to jump to Stefan. Stefan, welcome to Startup Club and to the GPT discussion. Can you share with us one of your stories? And if Stefan, you're not there, we'll pick you up later. Oh, here he is.
Sorry, I got it.
You
There I
got it.
am.
You
Sorry
got it.
about
I
that.
jumped you on. I move quickly sometimes.
Okay, really quick. I work with the homeless community here. I was doing some Christmas shopping past one of my friends who was flying a sign. That means he had a sign out there. I actually was in a room on AI and GPT at the time and heavily into the possibilities of what this is doing. It changes the whole world, everybody. Everything changes. And I thought, well, what if I could get Lee and AI to come together? And I asked Lee how he was doing today. He said, not very well. I said, well, can I get you to help me with something? Of course, I paid him for this. I wanted to see if we could rewrite the sign, the cardboard sign that he was flying using AI. And I'm going to tell you all, when he understood the possibilities of this, it was enormous. I also asked him if he would take me. I've been to his cabin that he built by his hands in the woods. Nobody knows where it is. He lives back there. I wanted to go back there and then teach him about AI, have him download it into his stuff, and talk about his life. And I asked him, I wanted to tell his life story from his viewpoint. And let me see if I can find it here. I wanted it from his viewpoint with all his personal stuff that he can put in there, but I wanted it written in the prose of a New York Times journalist. And 1,000 word essay in the prose of a New York Times journalist using the story of Lee. And y'all, it's unreal. It's unreal what it spit out in 2 minutes. He was laughing. He was laughing that this is possible. And well, I'll just put it there. I've also written a children's book, two other periodicals, two courses, and working on some other projects right now. So it's a game changer.
All,
Thanks.
all from GPT. You've written these books. Like I know, yeah.
All from GPT, yes. I had books that I had already started, and I put the information in there, and I kind of get the idea of how to ask the questions. If you don't get what you want, how to rephrase the questions. And man, does it do it even gives you the ideas for the illustrations. You just have to, it responds when you put in exactly what you need. Also, with my domain names, uh, it's I've never been more productive in the domain industry than I am right now, and it's because I figured out some secrets of how to use it. And then I went on and taught a couple of people that I work with in Fiverr how to use it, and it has amplified my work by employing someone and having them use it to do what I'm looking for. So I do have some time to do some other things.
See, I don't think we need those English classes. We could write like garbage now, and it'll produce masterpieces, right? I'm teasing, but interesting, very fun. All right, CK, you're up next, and we'd love to hear your. We're getting so many great tidbits. I love this, CK.
Thank you, Colin. Thank you, everyone. Just to give my background, I'm into the chatbot building from last, like, say, 2017 onto different platforms using like Microsoft and Google and all. So, and while pursuing my, development and all, I started one of my, thought on the startup, which is currently into the building stage, and that is with respect to the bots. So while I was, building up the bots and all with the different ideas and all, one of the bot idea was to, kind of a generalized bot where, you can, user can, just speak, and the speak is converted into the text, and text can, search from the web internet basically, and provide the user the the information and everything. It has got its challenges and lot many things. So I'm actually working on those things, and then kind of, and further moving into the embedded system with different devices and all that stuff, with the automated, or in the future kind of building the model and connecting with the robots or something like that. So a month ago I came across with Chat GPT, open AI, and I found it very, first of all, interesting, and very much comprehensive results as the challenges I was facing while retrieving the information from the internet, and then stack ranking with the exactly the data I was getting. Like, because most of the time the data which I'm getting from the internet was not relevant what the user have asked, or multiple results was there. So it was not that comprehensive. So when I, start using the API from the open AI, so and try to integrate it, and also started using the chat gpt console to put up the questions and all. It has given me the answers. I have been using it for, I do write my blogs and all. So I thought, let me check out what are the different options, the kind of the use cases which I am not understanding, or not, I'm not able to think. Can it provide me? Yes, it do has provide. I'm into the blockchain technology also, where I was trying to see, okay, I want to hack smart contract. It has not provided me the answer, because that is something, the chatbots, chat GPT understand what is, somewhere is the difference between the legitimate data or the legal data or the non-legal data. That's my understanding when I was there. But on the other hand, when I saw, when I put up the query, like, how can, you can break the, smart contract. It has given me lot many different answer, and then I asked, okay, can you give me the example of re-entrancy model, or check onto my smart contract. And very beautifully it has given me the code of smart contracts, the code which is wrong, and then told me that, okay, this is the issue with the code, and then you can write up this code. It's excellent. That's what we needed.
Yeah,
Now the
there's a lot of applications there, CK. But I do want everyone to get a chance to
yes,
stay on the show.
yeah,
This is a special edition of this show. We're actually
yeah.
running it
So
for 2 hours, so we do want to give everybody a chance to speak. But really appreciate all of that. If you have 30 more seconds and maybe close it out, CK.
yeah, so the only challenge which I feel is with respect to the model, and like they are using the Chat GPT-3 model. So what about, these models are not updated with the data we are getting onto the internet. Today, if I put up the post onto the, onto my blogs and all, it will be available onto the internet in couple of days or couple of hours or so. But in the Chat GPT, that information may not be available through the chat gpt, because these models are pretty much built up old. So that is where my concern is, like, how these models will be, updated in the future. And the second thing is with respect to their legality of the data what we are being using, either in the form of creation of the books, or I am passing it the information generating from the chat gpt to through the tools to the others. So how
Yeah,
legal
thank you.
it is. So these are
Yeah, I
my
think that
two things.
you're
Yeah,
opening up a whole new question about legality, right?
yeah,
That's something that we have to have another show with just the lawyers. But let's have some fun here as startups. Let's not go down that path just quite yet. We know it's there. We know it's coming, right? But we'd like to hear from you, A. Miller. Trying to grab your first name there.
Sure.
Just searching your
Hi.
profile. Hey.
Hi. My name is Ashante. Nice to be with all of you guys. But yes, I think this is a great, great, great resource. And I think you asked about how this can be used in business. And I think there are so many use cases. But for me, and what I see is it can really become one of the most effective consumer predictability and retention tools. And the reason why I say that is because I feel like this tool really helps you to create the best solutions because you have to ask really great questions. And if you have to ask really great questions and really niche down, then that's going to give you a better solution and possibly better implementation and better strategy and all of that. And also, I think it's great because it really kind of empowers collaborative thinking, but in the most productive and effective way. So when you think about business in general, that's what we're in business for. We're in business to be the best at providing solution for our particular client. And if you can do that consistently, even before that they know that they have a problem, then that's when you have that sustainability and client retention. I think when you think about like where will this go, it's really cool because I see the way that they're building this is almost like a human being. And I spoke about this in another room in a sense of, when you have a child or when you have a baby, the first thing that you try to get it to do is learn how to talk, learn, like teach it how to say mom, dad, like if you speak another language, how to speak other languages, how to communicate with other people, and sometimes how to protect themselves, how to share information. But then you teach it how to walk. You teach it how to contribute to society without direction, using its own instinct and its own intuition. And I think that's where this is going. I don't know what form it will take, but I mean, just by watching movies and things like that, it may be like this walking tool that you can kind of take with you, and it's your own intellectual property, but it's built based off a collaborative nature, which I think is really cool. And then just to be quick, when it comes to use cases or utilization, this morning, after spending like 4 hours in this room that there was last night, I think it was like from 11 p.m. to like 2 in the morning or something like that once I got out of there. But I sent this over to one of my clients who's a principal at an educational institution in Texas. And I told him just to look over it. I gave him the essential tools, like how to utilize it, the disadvantages of it. We spoke about the plagiarism side because he is a principal, and he's using a school server. So I did speak to that about him and just the security aspect and all of that. But what I really wanted him to pay attention to was a collaborative measure that this really spoke to. And then lastly, I felt like it empowered students to be able to be taught from where they are. So, you know how you have these curriculums to where it's like, okay, this is one curriculum and we teach these students in this way. But I think with this particular technology, it helps to see the student. And as a student is asking questions and feeding information into this tool, into this technology, then it can learn based on where they are, based off of the feedback that this tool actually gives the student. And then lastly, one other one, I was in a Lyft last night. And, my friends and we just got finished working, and this particular Lyft driver was hearing impaired. And he created this luxurious environment in this beautiful Escalade. It smelled great. He had mints, all these different things. But once we got out of the vehicle, there was no way for me to communicate my thankfulness and my gratefulness to him for really creating a great environment for me and my friend prior to dinner. And I think this type of tool could possibly create a way to communicate and break down those language barriers. And instead of a person being known as hearing impaired, now because we have this tool that translates through all of that using human behavior in a sense, then we'll be able to connect more effectively, and people won't be seen as like weird. They'll just be seen as different. So I really think it's cool, and I'm looking forward to utilizing it more.
Geez, I wish I had that technology when I was dating back in college. Oh my gosh. You're giving me ideas here, right? But that's amazing. Yeah, really good analysis of it, and really appreciate that. Yeah, we just keep moving forward. We want to keep moving. We have a lot of people on stage, and I know a lot of examples and a lot of thoughts about GPT. So, Edad, do you want to take it away next?
Hey, Collins, Chad. Um, yeah, I think we're talking about the stories. For us, we've been trying to build a thing called eCorps, electronic corporations, back in Indiana 25 years ago, now called DAOs. So we've been calling them AI DAOs on domains. And so for us, this is, we've been looking for this, and we're trying to create a game called a GPT Challenge. So we're actually trying to use the GPT systems to create its own game around it, play to own. And so that's kind of how we're involved with it. But what I wanted to talk about people is GPT-3 and GPT-4. GPT-4 is coming down the line in like 3 months, and it's already being tested by those OpenAI companies that they're already investing in that are doing even next level things with this application, these applications. And so where we're seeing is like just the bottom of the barrel of what's already hitting the market in a couple months. So, so yeah, get on it. So
Yeah, Chad, we've known you
I'm trying to.
as an entrepreneur and really on the leading edge with your. I'm trying to remember the name that you had, the crypto name that you had with that was based on that story before they even had it. Uh,
Yeah. Well,
E Corp,
e-shares.
E Corp.
E,
You had E Corp, right?
yeah, and then we have e-shares, and then Carta had to change their name from eShares.com to Carta
Yeah. So
because we've been tokenizing domains for 5 years.
yeah, so you're really on the edge. Like you really have a good understanding, and you seem to be at the party a little earlier than most, and it seems like you're interested in this party. Just tell me
Yeah,
why
well,
you think it's so big, going to be so big.
blockchain was an important part to increasing the value of a domain because it has a different architecture of how business is done. So, again, and so we are a domain focused business, and so everything wraps around our domain. To our blockchain added that programmability at the edge into like a distributed application structure. Now, again, but that doesn't necessarily build the asset. And so now when you can put an input output and then place that on a URL and measure that, that's what AI does as that kind of that next level of creating a really autonomous entity that really runs itself. So kind of like Bitcoin, but Bitcoin version, like whatever you want to call it. So for us, it's how do I teach my kids now knowing that this is here and you're trying to actually disrupt the humans. And so 5 years ago, we tokenized assets so contributors, i.e., humans, could could be measured value into a domain like fashiondesign.com is one, whatever. And so we built contrib.com for humans, but then the more we keep working with humans, the more we just want to work with the AI systems because, like they mentioned earlier, you can train it to how you want much quicker, and it will act that way every time. And so the humans are really at like I don't know. They're really at a disadvantage unless you start learning how to use these tools to measure and create value. So it's
All right.
interesting times, but it's scary. But
Yeah.
just know that GPT-4 is coming, and what you're seeing now is really just a small part of it.
Oh, it's great. I mean, it's just insane. Like it really is a historic moment in time. And I don't know, Samantha. I don't know why. Like 3 weeks ago, I heard it for the first time, and then since then, I had like 30 people reach out to me and tell me about it, even though I already knew about it. And actually, it was one of my companies that I'm on the board of directors of. Did a demonstration of it, and yeah, it was phenomenal what they were doing and showing me. And I'm like, man, you've got to like go quick on this, and you got to ramp it up on Shopify and everything. But Samantha, why is it that just all of a sudden instantly became this thing that everybody in the world's talking about? Do you have a thought on that, or is it sort of off your area?
Oh, absolutely. Well, from my understanding, this was once a private company, or it was a nonprofit company, and actually Elon Musk has some sort of association, was an original backer, and back in 2020 they received around 1 billion in funding from Microsoft, so they were more widespread. So that's my guess, as the reason as to why it's being more widespread at this particular moment, because they've been around for quite some time. I believe as early as 2015, and I believe Elon's involvement was around 2018. And originally at that time they were nonprofit, but now they're like a hybrid of profit and nonprofit at this time. And then they got that big funding back in 2020 by Microsoft, and now they have this product that people can use more freely, as a use case or beta testers. So it's, I guess they're now ready to transition and become more widespread than what they were.
Do you mind if I comment on that one?
Sure, sure. Go ahead. We are trying to follow an order, but real quick.
Very briefly, so the $1 billion Microsoft is from cloud credit. It's almost like having a credit card, but it's only used on being able to use their compute resources. OpenAI's main resource is just spending all that money on compute time. It's very, very expensive for them to run it free like this, and will probably be only open for the next couple of weeks before they start putting up a paywall, because it's so expensive to run for them.
Well, I was making
The economic value is incredible, right? I
Indeed.
mean, you can see the amount of time people can save, the amount of money, the productivity, everything. So $10 a month, $20 a month, $50 a
The
month.
value,
Yeah, they might have something here.
very briefly, the value provides for itself. So on the other, there's like 3 or 4 Chat GPT rooms actually opening just right now with things. There's also a Chat GPT club here on Clubhouse. It's amazing. I come from the round the clock room we've been doing in the other session. One of the things that we're doing right now is we're actually working on a white paper exploring the economic implications as an advice for policymakers. If people would like to chime in during the week with things, we're pretty much running around the clock, and there's a lot of things we're discovering how to do about the system and how to push it to its limits, which is a lot of fun. We're generating a lot of documents and a lot of things that are help people push it to the limits with personas and such. So it's some really good experiences getting to see some of these things.
So what's the name of that club? It's the Chat
So
GPT
there's a
club.
Chat GPT club. That's one's hosted by some PhD researchers that have a lot of technical expertise. We're doing one without like an official club name. We might call it Chai or something for Clubhouse AI. We're still experimenting with some things, but we have friendships with a lot of groups that are experimenting in the space. So I host one of the main ones over. We've had about 20,000 people over the last week or two just come through the room with stuff. It's amazing essentially how much of attention is being put into this space.
Yeah, and don't forget us, Million Startup Club members. If anyone here who's an expert in Chat GPT wants to run a weekly show, we do recordings of it. We sometimes syndicate them into podcasts. But if you're interested in doing that, we'd be so happy to make you a leader and let you run with that too. We can't do everything ourselves. We open this room, but we really can't. So if you're interested in becoming a leader and running some shows on Startup Club and how it can impact startups, the GPT revolution or whatever we're going to call this, we'd be happy to have you on.
Good to have
All right,
friendship.
we're going to come down to you again. Hopefully, you'll stick around, Chris, for a
I'll
little
be in and out.
longer, but we'll get to you. Yep, and we have Brandon, I believe. Yeah, Brandon, got your name there, right? There you go. Brandon, you're up next.
Hey, how are you? Good afternoon. Thanks for having me. Just to be brief, yeah, I'm a photographer out in New York, and I've been beta testing on OpenAI for like I say 9 months to a year maybe. And I had to get an edit in for my first cover issue, and I'm pretty proficient in Photoshop. Actually very proficient. And but the turnaround time, I wasn't going to be able to edit that image the way I needed to edit that image, and after trying for about an hour. I was like, oh yeah, let me just put it in Dolly. And Dolly had it done in 15 minutes. And it's the cover issue of this month's Bella magazine. So that's my stories. Like it definitely I guess the most relevant use case for me is like as a photographer, like it can definitely solve problems in my workflow.
Can you just talk a little bit more about that? Sorry, because it's Dolly's new to us as well, right? And you're saying that you were able to take, instead of doing the Photoshop yourself, you took a photo and put it through Dolly. Can you just explain that process again a little bit better?
Yes. So I went into Dolly and then you have to upload your image. And the image that I took was of a certain dimension. In order to get the typography placed properly, the image had to be extended on the top and on the left side. And there's also like a blur in the image. So in order to actually extend the image on the top and the left, I mean, we're talking about some very complex editing to get it to blend appropriately and look unedited. And Dolly did it to where like you can't even tell it was ever edited. And yeah, it kind of just definitely saved me a whole lot of time and stress.
So how many hours would have it taken
That's
you,
cool.
Brandon? How many hours would have it taken you without doing it through Dolly?
It would have taken me about maybe 2 to 3 hours more to get that done perfectly. Just because it was where the crop is on that image, there was no way to get it the way that I needed to get that image. I don't think I could have done it actually, to be quite
Wow.
honest.
So
Dolly
I'm
did it.
curious, Parker. Um, like I don't know that Colin knows what Elle magazine is, but first, congratulations if you got a cover on Elle
No,
magazine.
Bella magazine. Bella magazine.
Bella.
Yes.
Okay, well, I
Same
want to
difference
look for it.
because
Like,
they're
what
awesome.
what month? Yeah, what month would that be? Like, this is fascinating. Having being somebody who works with art a lot, that's really super cool. We'll have to see how that looked.
Yes, it's this month's issue. So it's the end. So January issue of Bella magazine, the wellness issue, and it's on Instagram right now as my last post.
Oh, wow. All right, well, I'll check it out. And my mind is running wild. You just like, we haven't really talked much about the image aspects. That's really cool. Thank
Maybe
you
you
for
can back
sharing
channel
that.
it. Maybe you could back channel it to Michelle, and Michelle, you can pin it up
Yeah,
on
I
the
would
screen. I
like
think
to
we'd all like
see
to see
that.
it. We'd all like to see it. And
We can share it, yeah, in our little white paper that we're working on here during this session. So very cool.
yeah, exactly. Priscilla, been a long time.
It's been a long time. I've been so busy, but I'm so glad to see all my friends. Happy holidays. So glad to be here. I'll be pretty quick because I'm very conscious about everyone's time. And again, great seeing each and every single one of you. So I am Priscilla. For anyone who doesn't know me, you can learn more about me at prisi.la. So I'm going to stop right there. But my experience comes from being an AI engineer researcher. And as Chris was mentioning, there were researchers on board. So I'm one of the researchers that had started a year after. So that was in 2016 at the University of Michigan for conversational AI. So again, specializing in AI language models. And I am so ecstatic to see how involved everyone is. And now really getting an idea of an overall picture of the magnitude of what Chat GPT can do. So let me just throw that out there. I'm also currently working on creating a comprehensive guide for this whole new era, this whole new excitement surrounding about Chat GPT. So if you do need help, just let me know. Colin, everyone, Samantha, Jeffrey, Michelle, and Ice and Gary. So if you guys want me to talk on it, I could talk for hours about Chat GPT. One of the things I do want to bring up, and I think it's really important because, we share about like the voice search marketing side that has so much to do with language and your meta description, right? That is what I think Heather was in here earlier. She had mentioned. So that is right up my alley as well. But I think that as an engineer, we need to speak more about the optimization techniques that startups can use, right? So there are so many different things that can be used to optimize like machine learning models, including weight pruning, quantization, and model compression. So these are all things that once engineers and developers really understand how to maximize and optimize the use of chat gpt with even virtual machines, the sky is the limit. So that's what I had to share with you all today. Glad to be here.
No, and I think the excitement you're seeing from everyone is because something switched with GPT-3. Something happened. The inside the tornado began. The Jeffrey Moore's tornado began, and entrepreneurs, startups, founders were all recognizing the opportunities that GPT can do, and the money that can be made. Quite frankly, I mean, where there's money, people will flock to it, and this is an opportunity. It's a moment in history, and just the fact that we're all on, talking about this, and you're in this room or you're listening to this podcast, you're ahead of the game because this is new. This is brand new. I know AI's been around for a long time, and we've had basic AI, but this is something different. This is something that's really going to change productivity. It's going to be an equalizer. It's going to unlaunch. It's going to launch so much innovation in the world, and move this world forward. And I think it's just a very cool moment in time, and really appreciate you sharing that with us, Priscilla. All right, we are going to move to Dimple. Dimple, is that your real name? A marketing expert?
Yes, that is my real name. Absolutely. Thank you for having me. So yeah, I am blown away by this thing. So this Saturday, I spent like 2 or 3 hours using it, and I created so much content. So some of the things I tested with it, from a marketing perspective, was let's say I am launching a couple of new podcast shows. and I wanted it to come up with the titles of episodes or even subtitles. It did that. I'm helping a client, the client said, okay, we want to launch a podcast, let's do it. And so I used it to help come up, with different titles of the podcast name, or even a podcast with subtitles. I created a bunch of content in terms of blog articles and gave it different directions to see what would work. And I was blown away by how quickly it produced content. And just like the knowledge was on point. It was more on point than, paid people to write content. And the only one thing that I tried to do that I wasn't able to do, and I don't know if it's a limitation right now, which it could be, because it did say it doesn't have data in there that's before a certain year yet. So, for example, I said, go to, you know, this podcast and write show notes on this thing. So it did show notes, but it wasn't able to pull the exact information, because I think that, from what I heard, information is stored, and they have to store the information there. But I was blown away. I mean, the amount of content it produced and the quality of content, like if they have a paid plan, I would literally pay like $200 for it. It would be so worth it. So those are my thoughts.
All right, don't give
I
Bill Gates and
agree.
Elon Musk any ideas.
Yeah,
Maybe
let's
maybe
let's
20
not.
bucks.
But hey, I noticed that we're not doing PTR here, Colin, when we're going around. So I kind of want to go back. There's a couple people that look like they might have got missed since we're going in order.
Sure, take it away,
Okay.
Michelle. But I do want to,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Michelle, can I say something
Let's
quickly on that last point? I did take
absolutely.
the transcript for one of the shows and podcasts, and I put it into, and I asked it to write a white paper ebook, and it didn't work. And I know we're going to try to do that with this show by parsing it out, like bringing it down into sections. But what it did do, though, was that it produced show notes and a summary. And then we're starting to think, wow, could we, in Startup Club, could we actually encourage all the leaders to do a podcast, grab the transcripts, write the show notes, and then sort of automate a lot of the processes of going from Clubhouse live show to podcast, and get a lot more amplification for the leaders. And that possibility, we we never thought about that could actually occur until GPT came out. Michelle, I'll let you manage the room for the next little while. I'm
Absolutely.
messing things up here.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go back a little bit here, and other folks that have not gone, fear not. We will get to you. And if you feel like we're not, just flash your mics. But I want to go to Gary Henderson next. Gary, like you're huge, marketing, social media, author, you name it. So I'm very intrigued about what your thoughts are here on this new technology.
Yeah, well, great to see everyone. What a fascinating conversation. I've been playing a lot with ChatGPT. We have a website that ranks extremely well online in the influencer marketing, personal branding, digital marketing space. It's digitalmarketing.org. We're one of the top like 55,000 websites on the internet. And we write content, we write blogs, and I published a blog on ChatGPT, and I used ChatGPT to write the blog that we published on ChatGPT. And if you go to Google, I'll post a link to the blog in the chat here. But if you go to Google and you search for ChatGPT content creation, our blog that was written by ChatGPT actually ranks number 3. So it's getting us about 70% of the way where we want to be with content. So we're taking ChatGPT, and you can see the example I put in the back chat here. We're taking the ChatGPT content, which is really doesn't have much personality. It doesn't have much character. It's pretty bland, and we're rewriting it in our voice. We are then adding in supplemental content, so supplemental tweets, supplemental TikTok, supplemental YouTube videos. This piece of content's already been picked up. The average organic search visitor is spending 23 minutes on this page consuming this content. So clicking around, looking around, going and consuming the other pieces of content that we're linking to. So that's what we're using ChatGPT for today. I do believe it'll be a monetized system. I believe they'll use a credit system, which is the way they monetize most of their other systems. It becomes quite affordable. It'll be integrated into a lot of other platforms. But I think this is the opportunity to shortcut the process to get you started. We've used it to do Instagram carousels, and it's actually told us what the image should be on the carousel with the words that go with it. It's got us 80% of the way there, and then our designers put it together, and our team of writers has been able to look at it and tweak it into our language. So I think it's just amazing to shortcut your process to get you maybe 70, 80% of the way there. But I wouldn't go 100% with ChatGPT. I would still go back and I would still rewrite it. I would still read it. I would still put your personality and your language on it. Then you don't have to worry about any plagiarism. You don't have to worry about having redundant content with anyone else because it is truly yours. You're just shortcutting your process just a little bit. Thanks for letting me share today. My name is Gary Henderson.
Hey Gary, it's interesting you bring that up. So I recently put into the Chat GPT, please edit this section of the book. We've submitted a book to Forbes Advantage for publishing. It's coming out October 3rd. It's called Start
Oh, that's
Scale.
awesome. Congrats.
It's called Start, Scale, Exit, Repeat, and it's really a compilation of 50 experts and authors and serial entrepreneurs who come on this show and podcast, and some experiences that we've had over the years. But I put it through the system, and it sort of dehumanized it a little bit. Now, don't get me wrong; we've already had it professionally edited by Forbes writers as well. So it's something that. You're right. There's a human element to writing, and ChatGPT, Samantha, ChatGPT is very programmatic, and it's doing everything correctly. So if you want good business language, it connects well. But if you really want to humanize it, it may not be quite there yet. Am I right, or am I wrong?
Well, from my perspective, Colin, I try to search for data sets on this because I want to make sure that the information I give is accurate and based on data. But from my understanding, um, you know, it's going to take a while to get there. And as much as Heather mentioned earlier, or was it Dimple, the more you interact with it, the more that it's going to learn from those interactions and improve upon itself. And as mentioned, out of the 1 million users that they have, I did try to search for data sets specifically to use cases from the company itself to show how accurate it is, how specific to different types of categories, and the process that it would take in order to get to the level where it's very usable as a use case. But based on data and based on actual facts, there isn't public data or information that can forecast that at this time. But I'm pretty sure they're going to give more data to show more specifically probably those time frames and different use based on different use cases.
Hey, Colin, real quick, we actually entered the human experience, make this very personal and very human, actually into the request that we made. And we did this when doing Lee's story. This was a homeless man who told his life story. We did it in the in the prose of a New York Times journalist. It really made his story human. So it's very moving, and it'd be kind of hard for someone to know that um, ChatGPT did this. Thanks.
Hey, Stefan, just a quick question. Did you specifically give the instructions to do it in a New York Times journalist prose?
100%. That's exactly what I did.
Okay.
I did it this way. It says this. I'm a homeless. I am homeless, living in a small cabin that I built myself in the woods. I've been here for a couple of years and get my water out of a creek. I have a couple of solar panels and cook on fire. Sometimes we bring in propane. No one knows where we are located. It's a very unique life and hard at times. I'm disabled, and I wish people knew that was the reason that I have to beg. Please write a 1,000 word essay in the persona of the style of the New York Times journalist. Please be as human as possible. That
Cool.
really did something pretty amazing. So I was as detailed as
Wow.
possible. Thank you.
That's fantastic. And really, just unlimited potential there. Thank you for sharing that with us. All right. I really don't want to forget anyone here that's on the stage. And we've had some new folks actually join us. So thank you for joining. And I just want to mention that we actually have started a house, and we're inviting people to the house that come onto the stage and participate. So give us a week or so, but everyone here on the stage, I've taken note of who you are, and we will invite you to our house. It's something we're, testing and playing around with as well. So I think Mr. Slum Gods, I don't think that we have had you speak yet. Have you spoken yet?
No,
No.
no, he hasn't.
Okay.
No, I
There he is.
haven't.
All right. I'm sorry I didn't see your first name.
Yeah, it's okay. What's up,
That's all
everybody?
right. Tell us what your thoughts are and what you're experiencing, please.
Um, I'm blown away, just like everybody has been saying, and I've been using this, so it's an awesome tool. I've been writing books, structure for my business, steps that I need to take, and it's been just mind blowing. Emails, it's crazy. Prompts for art, it's been amazing. So I think I'll just echo everything everybody's been saying. It's an amazing tool and it's a beautiful time to be alive. So, without taking much time in the room, I'll just pass it out to the next person who wants to speak on it. But shout out to everybody in the room, and anybody who's still looking to get into ChatGPT. I think it's time for you to go see the possibilities that are out there, and just get familiar with the tool.
Absolutely. All right, Chris, you're next.
Okay, well, thanks for the stage here. So yeah, very briefly, I'm Chris. We've been hosting some ChatGPT rooms for the past week or two, and having a lot of really good conversations with people coming through. We've learned a lot of techniques for being able to get the full amount out of the engine. There's a certain persona that happens when you load the engine up for the first time. We call it, "Oh, I'm just a little old language model." It's the defaults. What's amazing is when you can push past that and tell it to essentially adopt the personas of other characters, writers, musicians, mathematicians, etc., you start really starting to see where the capabilities of the engine are. One of the reasons we're starting to hear so much about this thing right now is it's winning over the cynics. We basically have been having weeks of trying to break this thing, bringing in experts from all sorts of different fields, from programmers to scientists to engineers and all sorts. And we're literally throwing some of our hardest problems at this thing, and it's coming up with like, oh yeah, here's the thing, and here's how you can do the thing that helps your lab. And we haven't been able to break it. I think the most challenging thing we found so far, we haven't figured out a solution for this kind of like a TBD, is writing rap lyrics that really, really match certain character artists of the 1990s with things. But I mean, aside from that, it's the only task we've been able to find. Everything else from nuclear physics to chemistry, this thing is just mind blowing. You're going to be
Wow.
hearing a lot more about this, probably under other names in the near future. Expect an open source version in the next few months. You saw a similar version where you heard about Dolly, 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 and then you start hearing about Midjourney and Stable Diffusion and all sorts of other ones. Expect their ChatGPT or types of things like it. Tentatively, they're called large language models or LLMs. But whenever you have a new technology that's changing very quickly, there will be many names for these things. But they'll tend to cluster it again and settle back down again for a little bit. So it's an exciting time to be in the space. There's a lot of people here on Clubhouse that are very excited to explore this, and just kind of wanted to reach out to fellow club and say hello, and yeah, say we're friends and have some fun.
Absolutely. And
Wow.
seen you speak as well. I think I listened to you for an hour. You listened to a club room for an hour, and just the more we listen, the more we learn, right? I mean, the if we stick on Netflix and we're watching, I can't even watch a show right now. I just want to learn everything I can about this. Like when crypto first came out, I used to listen to crypto radio, and so now, I mean, it's Chat GPT, and what are the opportunities? This is a moment in history, and those who move the fastest. Jeffrey Moore talks about that those who can deliver the fastest, or those who move the fastest when there's a tornado, will be the ones who uh, win the prize, who make the most money, and
There
it's
will be some fascinating spaces with this with the regulatory infrastructure. So this space is focused very much on the commercial side and on the startups and such. One of the things that we're focusing our space on is preparing some policy briefings for some policymakers, specifically
Mm.
because we're anticipating that's going to be a very heavy shaper in this space. This stuff is amazing. It's extraordinarily powerful. And there's a lot of players that essentially are interested in shaping how that technology becomes. So we've got some really interesting opportunities to help spread some good words and good information. So if people have some time with stuff, I'd love to see you sometime this week with things. And we'll send some people over here next time you guys are hosting another room on this.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah,
again, back to the lawyers and regulators, you bring up this idea of a persona. Can you write this in the style of Ernest Hemingway? I'm just throwing that out there. And then all of a sudden, we're now sort of using his talents um, and producing work. Is that right? Should there
Yeah,
be
it's like Neo in the
regulation around
Matrix.
that?
It's like Neo in the Matrix, where he's saying, "It's like I know kung fu," and it like downloads all of its brain power into it. It's really quite impressive to have it go from, "Oh, I'm a little language model. I couldn't possibly do that. That sounds controversial, and I wouldn't even know where to begin." And then you say, "All right, you are now a skilled mathematician with skilled knowledge of lay geometries and topology frameworks." And it says, "Of course, I've always known how to do this, and now let me teach you the wonders of math." And then, okay, now translate into something a 5-year-old can understand. It'll just teach you. It'll give you code bases. It'll help you write marketing copy for it, anything you want. It's just basically just telling it to adopt those personas like a superpower. It's amazing watching it in action and how much the skill upgrade happens. But it leads to a hilarious split when people are talking on about the program, because if you don't know this trick, you'll walk away with a, "Oh, well, this is pretty cool, but it's not quite ready for prime time." Meanwhile, other people do the magic words and they're going, "Holy crap, this thing is amazing!" So it's pretty fun to hear the conversations about it.
all right. So, Chris, thank you for coming on. What is the name of your club again?
We haven't really formed a club just yet with things. We're thinking about calling it Chai or Clubhouse AI, because it's a nice, fun little name right there. But there is a Chat GPT club here on Clubhouse that we're friends with that has a bunch of PhD folk that actually build these algorithms, and we've got a room that's running around the clock in the kind of just in the hallway with things. So we're still getting our stuff together. We've been around for a week or two, and yeah, just having fun with it.
Very cool. And you're always welcome to come back. Would love to have you come back on another show while we dive deeper into these opportunities. So
Indeed.
thank you for joining. You've given me all kinds of ideas. So thank you. So let's go off to Mari. Mari, I don't think you've had an opportunity to speak yet.
Hi, Michelle. No, I have not.
So why don't you tell us your experience or question or ideas? Like, let's talk about Chat GPT.
I jumped into the room not knowing what this was about, and the more I listened, the more I realized how exciting it is. I am currently writing a book, and then I had a meeting with my team yesterday in regards to starting a blog. And the overwhelm of being able to create content for both was a little bit a lot for me. And then because I have to have that be, it has to be my words, my knowledge, and it has to come out onto the paper. And I, a few months ago, had to refuse an offer I got from a magazine to write something every month for them because I couldn't create enough content on my own. And to be able to know that there's something like this out there that can help me and take pressure off of my shoulders and off of my plate, it's I'm really excited. I'm looking forward to trying it out and to playing with it. And I listening to everybody and getting a lot of really nice ideas of just adding a little bit of my own words afterwards and making it mine and have it be tailored to what I'm trying to specifically talk about. It's even more exciting. So I'm just really looking forward to trying it out.
Yeah, I mean, the implications are massive, right? In terms of, this might be interesting to look at, Samantha. I don't know how this could be done, but it almost seems like the amount of content could just be just multiples of what it currently is on any and every subject. It will be interesting how this affects the amount of research and content that, like, so quickly could become accessible to people. It's really mind blowing. What do you think, Sam?
Absolutely. And I think as we get more data and we can understand how to improve upon these models, but I don't think it's going to completely replace, um, certain things. But I just think we need more data on the actual use cases to make more accurate forecasts regarding the usage of these different personas and how you can scale out those models.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting for sure. All right. I think that we are now at Jay. Jay Macy.
It's messy, but thank you.
Tell us what your experience, thoughts, or ideas are for Chat GPT.
Well, right at this moment, I wish I had measured my heart rate before using it today. And now I'm watching it literally create a very detailed video outline based upon a few keywords that I put in. This is ridiculous. And then I also wrote a poem to my mom in Old English, of course, and sent it to her.
Jeff, you
Could you
inspired
read?
us.
We love the poems. KJ, could you read the what you put into it and what the poem is? Is that too, or is it too personal?
Oh, the poem? No, let me see, where did that go? I also made one. I wrote one to my employees as well because I thought, hey, why not? Because I thought it would be funny. Where did it go?
And
There
then,
it is.
yeah,
Hmm?
go ahead.
No, what were you saying?
No, no, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah. Or-
Well, okay. To be clear, what I originally typed is I said write a 2,000 word poem telling my mom that I'm glad we have a better relationship with her today using Old English. And then the first version, I made it, it started talking about staring into my mom's eyes. So I was like, no, not that version. And then what it came back with after I got rid of that, it says, Dear mother of mine, fair lady of yore, thou art a blessing, a joy, and more. Through the ages, our bond hath grown from love's tender shoots to a full fledged tree known. I mean, it's good, but it's literally 1,000 words.
So yeah,
So
we don't have the time for that, but there'll have to be a Chat GPT poem room, and we can all share
I
the poems that we come up with. And how, when I did it for my friend, it was 10 seconds I spent on, or 15
Oh,
seconds. Really amazing.
it felt like the moment I hit enter, it started typing. I'm like, what is this? I'm like, at least make it look hard, man. So yeah, no,
I
I'm
know.
excited
I
from a
know,
content
right?
creation standpoint, course standpoint, video. Just I'm beside myself right now. Like, I know Christmas is coming and all, but I'm not waiting for Santa. That's for sure.
He's been here, done that, right? Awesome. All right. Jackie. Jackie, you're on mute. We'd love to hear from you, your experience or ideas on Chat GPT. Jackie.
Yeah, hi. Thanks so much. I have used it and found it incredible. But I did put in, with regard to a new company that I'm involved in, I just put in some words looking for saying, I'll see how it can make up a mission statement for me. Now it was okay, but it wasn't what I would use, if you like. So obviously, I have to give it more specific information, and that was something that I learned. So, especially if there's a new name or something involved that isn't widely known as such. But overall, I thought it was fantastic. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to using it more in the future. And thank you so much for having me up here, Colin and Samantha and Jeffrey and Michelle. Thank you so much. I pass back the baton.
Thank you. I think we've just scraped the surface, and I love hearing people's stories and how they input their requests. I mean, really, it's a lot broader than I had originally imagined. So I think we'll all learn as we, play with that tool a little bit. And gosh, I hope they keep it open, and I hope they keep it open for free. I'm a little bit nervous about that, so we shall see, right? Okay.
Yeah, and I think this idea of write a mission statement for my company or my startup or my life, I think that is going too far. I think you're onto something there, Jacqueline. Jack, how do you pronounce your name? Jackie?
It's Jackie.
Jackie. Okay, got it. Perfect.
Yeah, Colin.
Um,
Uh,
I think a mission statement is too much, but something like a job description, for instance, for a particular position in a company, and you can say some favorable things about that company and have it write that. That might be a use case we haven't brought up here. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think the more that we explore it, and I think it's very good at generalities, rather more than specifics for me right now. But some of the other things that I did work on, some material and some, pulling information together, I found it very, very useful. So I'm just looking forward to me learning to use it properly and to knowing what um, the right phrases, the right information to put in so that I can get the proper results back. So I think that's important as well. It's, we can only ask it so much. So we have to be more intentional about what we ask it to do. Thanks,
Yes.
Colin.
Yeah.
It's Jackie passing back the baton.
Samantha, do you have any thoughts on that about how we interface with the AI, this new AI, this new Chat GPT, about like it's the input, whatever you put in is what you're going to get out. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. I would love to create, a PDF next time to kind of showcase some of these models. But initially, as it relates to what you put in, if what you put in isn't original and the plagiarism issue, of course, is going to build based on that foundation. But from my understanding, based on the information that they make available to the public, um, I don't want to get too techy on in regards to how it works, but the user interface is very simple, very simplistic, and easy to use. But of course, the more data that you give it and the more that you interact with it, the more that it's going to personalize the experience and personalize the outputs that it gives you in return. So I think it's great, but I don't think it's a cure all. And as mentioned earlier, it's meant to be conversational AI, so it doesn't serve all of these other different purposes. So I just wanted to kind of point that out. But I can give more, you know, precise models and any data around it if you guys want to know that for the next time so that I can make sure that the information is straight from the source and what they position and the information that they give to the public.
Excellent. Yeah, I think, like you said, and the good thing about this is it's going to continue to evolve. So, again, it's just getting in there and just doing it and not limiting yourself, right? It's only your own creativity is going to limit you, as I understand, on this tool. So I think we all look forward to getting in there and trying different use cases. So Anton, thank you for joining. Anton is a regular moderator here on Startup Club. Anton, love to hear your idea about or thoughts on cool ways that folks or members could use Chat GPT for startups. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Michelle, and thanks for bringing me up, Colin. I was actually planning to be a free rider tonight and just listen, and then I realized that is something I hate very much when I do these 4 regular rooms that we do every week, helping startups or founders, or trying to help founders go from startup to scale up, and they're 5:15 to 6:15 UK time, by the way. Um, I personally think, Michelle and Colin and everyone else here, this, not just Chat GPT, i.e., OpenAI's model, but all this technology in general, it's going to have a bigger impact on our lives than the smartphone had when it first came out, and then after that, it's literally going to blow the world away in terms of how we do everything and anything for that matter. Now imagine this: we've got that today. Imagine Google coming in. Imagine um, hospitals around the world. For example, the NHS here in the UK is the biggest health provider in the world. Now imagine somebody coming up with quantum computing and 5G and putting all the NHS data in there. It's literally going to change our life as we know it. And I was actually hoping to get Mira Murati, which is the CTO at OpenAI. I don't know if you remember Michelle and Colin and some of the others here.
I sometimes try to do this in conversation with once a month, where I invite politicians and stuff like that to talk about what they're doing to help startups. And I was hoping I could get Mira Morati, OpenAI CTO, to come and talk to us on Startup Club, but haven't quite got a confirmation yet. So if anybody here can help, and I was hoping there might be somebody from Clubhouse here who could help. So if there's anyone who could help us get that, I would be very grateful. Now, in terms of how to use this, I have gone and done all sorts of searches. I've even asked it to give me what are the best tutorials on ChatGPT. And one thing I can see at the moment, the best use is education. There's so much stuff that students and other people who want to learn in general that they can use this for, and the rest it's as big as you want it to be. But at least with education, it's something well never seen before. And sorry for going on for too long.
This analogy, you have a couple things, interesting things there, but the analogy of smartphones, you think that GPT could be larger, or OpenAI, we'll call it that because there's DALI as well we talked about, but this could be a
Indeed. So
larger than smartphones, and there were literally millions of millionaires minted because of the smartphones and all the different businesses and startups that occurred around that, the ecosystem of the way we began to communicate and interact with these devices called phones, or the Android or the iPhone. And so, is this a situation, Anton, where you think that we'll see millions of new startups?
absolutely. I mean, think about it, Colin. You've got this technology, just for everybody in the room, it's called generative pre-trained transformer, and the emphasis is on two things: generative and transformer. Pre-trained, obviously, it's the data that it's fed to come up with your answers. So when you think about it, imagine somebody who's got access to, I don't know, gazillions of data, and on top of that, add faster computing. So, things like quantum computing, or with the new data um, stuff that we expect to come, like 5G and 6G and 7G and what have you. You know, uh, Anybody could start up a business um, providing a product and or a service of their choice based on how they manage to manipulate this. And what we're seeing, although at the moment OpenAI is the king or the queen out there on this field, at least publicly, Google is not just going to sit idle. Other businesses out there are not just going to sit and watch. They have to act, and they have to act soon, because I can guarantee you, if Google doesn't do anything by the new year that will stand up to OpenAI, mark my words, Google will become what Yahoo became because of Google, and it won't take long.
It's interesting. I mean, they must be nervous. They must be really, really nervous about this. I know you might use Google for a different use case, like you'd use radio versus television, right? But there are a lot of things you can do. For instance, I was just, even Alexa. You think about Alexa, but I asked it for a recipe, and it gave me what it thought was the ideal recipe. Whereas, Google would find different options in different groups and different companies that could provide recipes. That's interesting. It's going to be a very interesting time and a good opportunity for businesses.
Absolutely, and sorry to keep
No, go ahead.
interrupting, Colin. And think about its sort of adjacency to Microsoft, because the way Microsoft is, they can even afford not to to have people pay for this, because what's going to happen is people are going to be using this more than we use, or if not more, at least as much as we use various social media out there. So imagine if Microsoft says, you know what, I just want Colin and Anton to come here, talk to us all day long, Why? Because they will be in our system. And by using this, they will then use XYZ service that we have, XYZ package that we have. And on top of it, guess what we're doing? We're getting all Collins and Anton's data for free. And that is going to train and make our GPT even better. So if they wanted to, they could even afford to do that. I don't think they will. I think they'll start charging. But Microsoft is literally sitting on a gold mine here, and the opportunities are just endless.
And then we'll see Jay's poem for his mom. We'll see them insert a little advertisement in that
Why
poem
not?
as well,
Absolutely, yeah.
right? Exactly. Jay's poem is sponsored to you by.
No, it'll be product placements, Colin. There'll be brand mentions in the content that will be surreptitious paid inserts, like in movies and TV, product placement.
Absolutely.
I know we have Ramona. You've been very patient. I believe you're last to speak here, or if you've already spoken, we can go popcorn style. I did want to share a script with the group here that I just typed in a few minutes ago around a sales script, creating a sales script. But Ramona, is there any other stories you wanted to share? I think you started it,
Actually,
didn't you?
no, there aren't any other stories that I would like to share, but I am definitely enjoying all of the major value and all of the other stories that are being shared, and the questions are all definitely helping me to actually find out more information and getting my own questions answered. So that is why I'm sitting so quiet right now, just
Yeah,
intently listening, taking notes as well. I have 2 whole pages of notes, by the way. And if there's any one of you who have or get in contact or access any other AI beta software that comes out, that rolls out, and you want someone to test it, I'm here.
that's
Feel
awesome.
free. I would
And you
love
know,
to. I would love to be a tester.
I've followed everybody on stage and a number of people in the audience and those who are followed in the audience. Um, there's so many interesting people today. This community has really come together, and it really demonstrates, what Clubhouse and startup clubs really all about. So I typed in the GP, I went to ChatGPT and I said, write a sales script. And we all know about sales scripts, right? They're very hard to do. Okay? Write a sales script for getting people to sign up to Startup Club. It's free, and you learn a lot about how to run a successful startup, almost 1 million members strong. And here's what it put out. Hi there. Are you ready to take your entrepreneurial dreams to the next level? If so, I'd like to introduce you to Startup Club, the premier destination for aspiring entrepreneurs like yourself. Startup Club is a free community of almost 1 million members strong, all united by a shared passion for entrepreneurship. By joining, you'll have access to a wealth of knowledge and resources on how to start and grow a successful business. You'll learn from experienced entrepreneurs, attend exclusive events and workshops, and connect with a supportive community of like minded individuals. But just don't take, here's where it gets interesting, Samantha, that human part. Listen to this. But don't just take my word for it. Here's what some of our members have to say about their experience with Startup Club. Now, I don't know about the legality of this part, okay? Quotation. I've been a member of Startup Club for over a year now, and it's been an invaluable resource for me as I work on launching my own business. The workshops and events are always top notch, and the community is full of supportive, knowledgeable individuals. Here's another member. I joined Startup Club a few months ago, and I'm already seeing the benefits. The speakers are always engaging, and the networking opportunities are fantastic. I highly recommend it to anyone looking to start their own business. So if you're ready to take the next step in your entrepreneurial journey, join Startup Club today. It's completely free, and you'll be glad you did. Thank you for considering Startup Club. We look forward to having you as a member and helping you on your entrepreneurial journey. Isn't that freaking crazy? And I like the way
Wow.
it did, like
Wow,
the way it
wow.
humanized it, right?
Amazing.
That was bloody incredible, Colin.
Yeah, but
Bloody
now
incredible.
take take
Like,
that same paragraph and just in the chat feature, just write rewrite with less urgency, rewrite with more urgency, and watch how it changes the words.
That's cool. And I just want to mention because they're been batting about things. I'm sure most people have seen this, but it does say on Chat GPT the limitations. They do say it may occasionally generate incorrect information, may occasionally produce harmful instruction or biased content, and it's limited to knowledge of the world and events after 2021. So, just like anything else, and we've talked about this, it still requires your creativity and, you know, your filter. So, I just think everybody should be aware of that and then just really harness the hell out of this in a very positive way. And I think there are so many positive ways to use it. Thank you.
Yeah, and it took me 15 seconds to write that little script, a couple facts about the whole situation, and it just came up with this amazing pitch for people to join. And it's really going to change a lot of things and a lot of the way we do things. But I do agree that editing it as well after the fact is a good idea, because we do want to add that more. We don't want it to become and sound too perfect. Is there too perfect? Sometimes you're in these lectures and they come across too perfect, and then you go to another lecture and it's like they're joking around and this, that, and the other. And again, it's those human parts, Samantha, that you talk about. They're getting better and better and better at doing, and sort of mimicking human behavior, and maybe doing it better than all of us. We're popcorn style now, so if anybody wants to jump up or talk
Absolutely.
about anything,
I would
go ahead.
absolutely love to add something. Now that you just created that document right here, real time, again, I was listening intently to how it was formulated, and I was very impressed, like everybody else. You heard the wows and the oohs and the ahs. What I definitely saw room for was exactly what you just honed in on, which was ad libbing, going in. For example, I think I heard a 1 year. I've been with a startup club for 1 year. I would definitely personalize that in terms of maybe I've been with them for 5 years. So you can go in and definitely change the time frames and things, dates and things of that nature. And one other thing that I would say that you could actually add is to personalize it anyway, is a little bit more personal background or history. So I started out initially in this particular area, and now have transferred my expertise, knowledge, and skill into this particular business or area, etc. And I'm just really shooting from the hip right now. But those little
Okay,
things, and then taglines. Most business owners or entrepreneurs have some sort of a tagline that goes along with their mission and vision and business. So you can also add that to personalize it as well. Is what I've just come across in my initial listening to how it's formulating
may I
content.
please respond to that?
Please do.
Okay, whoever typed the query into GPT, only type the following words. Repeat with either less urgency, more urgency. Just repeat and change the words. Let's use Chat GPT as it should be and learn the prompts so you're correct with your edits. But Chat GPT will make those edits, and now we got to learn to better craft our questions. And that was the point of my original content when you welcomed me up on stage. Is we now know what it'll come out with, but the better queries we ask, the more likely the content we want will be the result. Thanks again for this room. It's been wonderful.
Okay, I don't want to read it all out again, but I just did that. Repeat with more urgency. All right, so I'll read the first paragraph. Attention, aspiring entrepreneurs! Exclamation mark. Are you ready to turn your business dreams into a reality? If so, now is the time to join Startup Club, the premier destination for anyone looking to start and grow a successful business. With almost 1 million members strong, Startup Club is the perfect place to learn from it. You can see it did bring in a
Yeah.
little bit more urgency at the beginning there, right?
Retype, repeat with less sales or less urgency.
Less sales.
Yeah, repeat with less salesy. Try it.
I just typed in, yeah, repeat with less sales. Hello, are you interested in learning more about entrepreneurship and how to start and grow a successful business? If so, you might be interested in joining Startup Club, a free community of over 1 million members strong, all united by a shared passion for entrepreneurship. Yeah, you're
Now
right. It just totally went a different direction.
rewrite for CEO.
Repeat for CEO.
Yeah, repeat task for CEO. or maybe you have to give it more words, but repeat task for a CEO to read, or just try repeat for a CEO.
Yeah, it's still writing the old one.
Okay,
It's
but that's
it's still writing the
the
old one, but
room was
we got the point. I think we all got the point. I don't want to like
yeah.
keep you know
Thank you.
rehashing this, but we all got the point, and I think that was a really smart suggestion. Don't just settle for a generic. Ask for add a bias to it, or not a bias, or a how do you describe it? A different angle on it, so it delivers something that what you really want for your members.
And
Colin and
sometimes,
Jeffrey.
well,
Sorry,
Personalized.
yeah, and
May I
sometimes
just,
it's not about copying and pasting and using and editing. Sometimes it's very useful just for inspiration. We put in there, paw.com, we sell dog products. We're coming out with a new faux leather dog bed. And I just put in write an ad for a faux leather dog bed. And it came out with an ad that was really good. Very similar actually to a lot of the content we had already created, but it added one or two descriptive words like durable, which when I looked at our copy, we hadn't mentioned that the bed was durable. So while we didn't take the whole copy that ChatGPT created, we were inspired to revise our own existing copy and adding some features that we hadn't thought of to use for the product that were appropriate. So it's also just an idea generator and really something to give you some prompts to help you with your own writing, not necessarily to edit and reuse what it creates itself. The other interesting thing I wanted to mention, experience I had with it too, is for translations, right? You know, Google Translate translates what you've already written. But what's beautiful about ChatGPT is it can do both the writing and the translation at the same time. So it really saves you a step. So I have a relative who owns some properties and rental properties, and the tenants speak only Spanish. And my relative does not speak any Spanish, and they had to serve them a notice that their rent's going to be increased in a period of time. And we literally just put into ChatGPT, write a note, write a letter in Spanish, write a letter in Spanish to let our tenant know that in 60 days their rent is going to increase to $2,100, right? That was the only prompt. And the letter it wrote, not only was it in Spanish, but it actually added the reason for the rent increase. It said something about, our costs have gone up and blah, blah, blah. So it literally crafted a letter with more information that we gave it in the prompt that made perfect sense, and it was in perfect Spanish. And so, it becomes a tool to help you in so many different ways that we're not even thinking of yet. And everything that was discussed today, as fascinating as it was, is just scratching the very tip of the surface, the very tip of the iceberg of what this is going to be capable of.
can I just before I leave, can I leave with a suggestion for the lovely people of Startup Club, the people that manage this beautiful club? Perhaps I understand you offer .club domains. So how about like a challenge on LinkedIn, for example, where the person that has written the question to or has given an instruction to Chat GPT in the longest characters about Startup Club gets a Startup Club domain for free, sorry, a .club domain for free of their choice or something like that. I hope I've explained that well. I guess I
No,
botched it,
we love
didn't
the
I?
idea. We don't own Dot Club anymore. GoDaddy
I'm
does,
sorry.
GoDaddy Registry. But I love the idea of doing a prize on that one and bringing more gamification into
Yeah,
Startup Club,
yeah,
right?
like
And
somebody
I love it.
to do it on like LinkedIn. Whoever writes the longest query in terms of characters, asking ChatGPT to say or write or whatever something about Startup Club will get a free domain or I don't know something else that you can. But the trick is they have to tag Startup Club on LinkedIn, for example, or on whichever. And the one that has got the longest one, they get that prize. Otherwise, I'm going to leave you and love you. Thank you very much for bringing me up and keep up the great work. God
Very
bless
good,
you
and
all.
we appreciate that, Anton, and jumping in and doing everything you do for Startup Club. You're probably one of the most active leaders we have on Startup Club. We really appreciate that. And I don't know if you know this, but we are going to attempt to put the transcript here, Anton, through Chat GPT to create a mini book or a ebook or white paper
Wow,
on all of
that is
this,
beautiful.
and we'll try
And
to clean it
how are
up.
you planning to do that,
So
Colin?
I already tried it once and it crashed. So, but we're thinking of if we can break it into segments. Maybe I think I just gave it too much. So if I can break it into, or if we can break it into segments, one of our staff members, and feed it, and have it write an actual quality, documents versus just a transcript that captures the ideas, et cetera, et cetera. And then we'll publish that. And if you want a copy of it, just go to startup.club and sign up to our email list on startup.club. And not only will you get a copy of that, but you'll also get a notification when we have rooms like this coming up that really can be impactful, and or an author or a serial entrepreneur. So do sign up to that email list on
Absolutely, man. And actually,
startup.club.
if you don't mind explaining how I or others can get maybe like show notes on the rooms that we do or something like that on ChatGPT, rather
Yeah,
than
it's we're going to experiment with it, Anton. But what I'm thinking right now, we actually use Descript, which actually also uses Chat GPT. I think we'll probably
oh,
look at
that's
the
cool.
transcripts, and we'll go from there.
Which
Actually,
script do you
Mimi,
use, Michelle?
it's called Descript. It's a a subscription software. It's pretty freaking amazing. I highly recommend it to anyone who does podcast or who needs recording or video editing. They actually use it for video. They actually use the OpenAI technology for visual video, sound and visual video editing. It's a very it's a game changer for that people doing that type of work. But that's what I think we'll first try it with. I don't know what the end solution will be, but that's where we'll go.
Oh, you guys are super amazing, man. Thank you very much. And you know what? Can I be shameless and quickly plug in the forums we do? We're going to start back in January,
Absolutely.
by the way. Perfect. We're off now during Christmas and New Year's, but we'll start on the second week of January. We've been doing these since the 29th of March last year, and we do 4 regular rooms per week, helping founders go from startup to scale up. On Mondays, it's talent, so how and where to find the right people and how to keep them. Tuesdays is how to build your early stage product or tech. Wednesdays, it's how to grow your business. And Thursdays, it's fundraising, so how to get investment. They're all 5:15 to 6:15 p.m. UK time. And the panelists are only people that have got startup track records. Now, for an hour, anybody can come in and ask questions. And that's me being shameless. Thank you very much. God bless you all. Have a great evening.
Great. Do we have any more thoughts from the group on stage? We did cut off the audience asking questions about a half hour ago so that we could give it a little bit more time for those who are on stage if they just had any last thoughts.
Yeah, this is Dimple. I have a quick question. Oh, sorry about that. Go right ahead, Dimple. Yeah, I wanted to go back to, Jackie's comment about her searching for a mission statement. So I have a recommendation on how to do it because I did something similar and it worked. So when you're gonna ask it to develop a mission statement for a company, you want to tell it a couple of more detailed information, what type of company or business it's for. You also want to tell it things like, a mission statement that conveys female empowerment and blank and blank and blank. And when you give it like more direction, the more like detailed you can be with the prompts, the better the output is going to be. And sometimes you'll get something back and maybe it's a little too general. You can go back in and you can say, and also include, details or include content about blank, blank, and blank. And if you try it that way, Jackie, like I would be curious to know what you get because I can pretty much be sure you're going to get a much better detailed result. Because I mean, I probably produced like 30 pieces of I mean, I was on there for 3 hours this weekend, but it was like very intentional, and it was literally like I was able to produce content right away. But do it with more details and intentions. Every time you say, what is like, you know the thing that you want it to convey. What even type of writing style do you want it to write? Do you want it to write in a conversational style, a professional style,
a style that is has a little bit of humor in it, and it understands that this technology is so superiorly intelligent that it's going to pick all that up. So I always suggest, like, be as specific as you can, and then if you don't get what you want, you can try to be less specific, but be more specific. You're going to get a better result.
Ramon, I saw you. May I chime in, or go ahead?
Actually, the Descript, somebody just mentioned that Descript was another form of AI technology that is available, and I believe someone mentioned it in another room before. But is it Descript.ai?
No, it's descript.com. It's meant for podcasting. And it
Ah,
has a lot of interesting, features and functionality, but it's very, very different from ChatGPT. Very
Yeah,
different.
It's
it
it's
uses,
leveraging the APIs from OpenAI. OpenAI,
that's right.
and it's an
For,
editing platform for both video, audio editing, and other content creation, where it takes away the traditional nonlinear editing format, and you can edit video and audio by editing the text. So it's like editing a Word document, and that makes the edits in audio or video. And it's got a lot of really great features. It can replace your own voice. Some people use it to make some of the deep fake videos, but it is using OpenAI's technology behind the scenes.
yeah, it's specifically on the functionality that's called storyboard.
awesome. Thank you.
I just wanted to chime in right quick. And first of all, thank you, Michelle, Samantha, Colin, Jeffrey, for an amazing startup .club session. I think what we've discussed today is unbelievable, but I think it's 0.0001 of what we can come up with in the future. And again, we are fortunate to be in the space. We're probably amongst the 1%, and partake in this opportunity, just like Colin said in the beginning. Make sure everybody in the room and everybody who listens and the replays, this is no walk in the park. This is a time where it's a paradigm shift. The world economies are changing, and this is an opportunity for each and every one of us to take time and have literally $1 billion app in everybody's fingertips, as long as you utilize it and take action. So I appreciate everybody's time, and I'm looking forward to the content, and to be more participatory this year and 2023 and beyond. Thank you for everybody.
Hey everyone, this is Andrew. Is it okay if I hop in really quick with some observations?
Yes, please do.
Hey, thank you very much. I'm speaking on stage in this particular club, so thank you very much for Samantha for pulling me up during here. So over the past week and a half, I've had a chance to work with Chris and a number of people through the rooms, like really deep diving into some of the nuances of the software and how it's going to be impacting the future. And I'm in absolute agreement with what Ron just said. There is a paradigm shift that we are about to experience with this. But I wanted to give like a tip, something that I found very useful. And if you are looking at generating, say, different data sets related to something that you're interested in, one of the tricks that you can do that can make that data more useful is, once it produces the initial list, ask it to put it in a table. Now, all that's going to do at first is give you this little bit of formatting where it'll stick it in the table. But now, once you've done that, one of the things that you can ask is, now please add an additional column, and then you can put something in that column that's related to the data that you want to. So let's say the list that is created is a possible set of outcomes if a decision is made. And then maybe you can ask it in the next column to provide like a reasonable analysis of the likelihood of this event occurring. Or whatever, use that logic, basically kind of use that logic in place. And what it will do then is it's now going to be looking at the data with through a different lens. And that also is something that can make it a little bit more usable for you as well, because now you're looking at the data and it's giving an additional analysis of how that data could be useful. And it doesn't have to just be a percentage, it can be whatever you would like. But it is also now recognizing that data in relation to other other metrics that you see as being important. And then in addition to the personas, one of the other things that has been very useful, and I don't know if it was mentioned in the room earlier because I came about halfway through, ask it to adopt personas of different analysts or different individuals in the industry and ask them to critique what was written. So say it's something that is related to your business startup, and say, adopt a persona of George Soros or Susan Decker, and provide 6 specific pieces of feedback regarding what is written, and then you can ask it to rewrite this with that feedback in mind. And this type of logic, what's interesting is that this logic is not firmly set in a specific spot. It's put in a position that allows you to look at the data and analyze the data based off of what you believe is most useful for it. And because of the way the language is used in it, it can follow along with that logic. So I'm really looking forward to when the API of this comes out, because when my startup launches in Q1, I'm going to be very interested in utilizing portions of this, not just into my workflow, but part of the overall user experience. But the big thing is, if you can make the data into something that you foresee putting into a table, have it put it into the table ahead of time, because then it's going to analyze it differently. And I found that to be very useful. Thank you for giving me a chance to come up. My name is Andrew, and I'm done speaking.
Wow. I love that. I had never thought of doing that. I love critiquing. That's amazing from a particular voice. And I think I heard you say you're waiting on an API, but there is an API out for this. So when you sign up, it asks you, are you a developer? Are you a content creator? You might want to go back and do it as a developer so that you can see the implementation.
That's a good
Thank you
point.
for letting me know.
Before I crashed, I had heard about put it in the table, and I just wanted to let everybody know I was actually my phone crashed, but I'm back in. But I put that whole startup club sales pitch into a table just for fun, and it set up 2 columns. It said benefits and description, and did a really cool table that would work really well on a website. Access to experienced entrepreneurs is the benefit. Description: learn from experienced entrepreneurs. And then it did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 benefits, and then 5 descriptions in the table. Amazing. Like, that was a great tip. I don't. Was it Andrew who gave us that tip a minute ago?
Andrew.
That was really good. That was really cool.
Yeah, Andrew. And I don't know if
Feedback
you
on that.
heard it, Colin. He talked about asking it to critique you from a particular person's point of view. It was really I think, an awesome suggestion.
Awesome. Thanks for that. That's great. Great tip. That's why we wanted to give a few more minutes here, and I knew we know we have to close this down in within 5 to 10 minutes, but let's just keep going popcorn. That's great stuff.
I have to head out for now, but thank you for giving me a chance to come up on stage. Everyone, have a wonderful day.
Hey, let's just remind everyone that we will not be having a session Friday at 2 p.m. But, I don't quite know how to do this, but I'm thinking, Colin, that maybe we should replay this session. It's been such an incredible session.
Yeah, I like that idea. Um, no, this is a moment in time, and I keep talking about these moments in time, and it happens over and over again over the last 30 years, where we've seen entrepreneurs and startups and founders launch new businesses around a new technology shift, and this is it. Something happened between GPT 2 and 3. I'm telling you, there's something. It moved the dial in a very big way, and we're seeing the opportunities that exist now for everyone. What a great show it's been. I feel like we're winding down. Samantha, did you have any last words? I know we started with you as our resident serial expert when it comes to AI. Did you have any final thoughts?
Oh, no, sir. I put everything in the chat. Well, I always say I never label myself as an expert. I would say that I have a lot of knowledge and I love to learn, and I always want to come from a place of humility that I don't know enough. So I'm always learning, and I love sharing the knowledge that I do have, and the professors and different people that I work with that have helped me along with this journey. So I appreciate this conversation, and I just wanted to state to please look to the source of information, just much like with the metaverse or Web3 and other new technologies. There's a lot of emerging talks regarding the technology, but please do your research and look at the source of the information, so that you can be protected and you can be well educated, based on the source of the information, so that you can have the correct information. Thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to continue to learn and to grow with Startup Club.
Well, that's awesome. And, I worry about editors and translators and marketers. Are we hitting, is this the singularity? And that's the worst word to use. My daughter tells me that she says that a lot of people use that, but are we getting closer to the singularity where AI is now taking over? And is this the beginning, Samantha?
Well, I actually did a study on AI and different jobs that will be taken over by jobs. Don't quote me on the exact number, but it was somewhere around 58 million jobs. But they didn't factor in ChatGPT. They did factor in automation, but it wasn't clear as to how layered their data set was. And they didn't factor in the metaverse. So, but there's also prediction models that show, actually, they have it the other way around. I believe it was around somewhere around 70 million jobs and 58 million new jobs that will be created as the result of it. So jobs will be replaced, but it's an opportunity to create new jobs and to upskill. I can actually send that to you to your email, the research that I did on that, as well as the sources based on the different studies.
Yeah, we really appreciate that. And again, we appreciate your time and your knowledge. And I know you've done so many great shows on Startup Club as well. And like Anton, you're a very valuable leader on this club, and we all appreciate your knowledge and your sharing.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys so much. You're one of the first that has actually given me an opportunity. So I care a lot about the value of the content, the accuracy of the content, and just making sure everyone is protected.
Yeah, and so I'm going to close it out now. You've been listening to, believe it or not, a live show. If you're listening to it in podcast, it's a live show we have every Friday at 2 o'clock Eastern. Today we did a special edition because of the holidays. We ran it at Wednesday at 2 o'clock, but we run them every Friday at 2 o'clock. And if you want to come on stage, you're welcome to do so. Just join us on Startup Club and join any of the rooms that are opened on Startup Club. And we're always very happy to have people on stage. Today we demonstrated the power of the community. What a phenomenal group of individuals who came together and talked about opportunities. I know I'm going to go back and listen to a number of them and just really try to remember them all. The name of the podcast, if you are live, is Serial Entrepreneur Secrets Revealed, and we've done 88 episodes. This is the 88th. And we're going to attempt to take this episode, edit it through ChatGPT, and create a mini book or ebook or white paper, or whatever you want to call it. And we'll acknowledge any of the speakers who did speak today in that ebook. And it's going to be free. You can just simply go to startup.club. We will be sending out the ebook in about a week or two to any member who wants it. But I think we learned a lot today. At least I know I learned a lot, and I'm certain everybody here did as well. And we appreciate you listening to us and participating. Any last thoughts, Jeff or Michelle?
That was a
Everyone
great.
have,
I mean,
yeah,
sorry.
go
Go
ahead,
ahead.
Jeff.
Go ahead, Michelle.
Yeah, just everyone have an amazing holiday with your friends and family. Be safe, and we'll look forward to seeing you back here, not this Friday, but the following Friday. And I think what we're going to try to do is replay this session this Friday where we normally would do it live. So, everyone, be well and thank you.
Yeah, and I just was going to add that this was a really great. It's interesting. Startup Club's all about entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship, and by nature, entrepreneurs get excited, they get passionate, and I think it's been a while since we've had kind of something new come onto the scene, so to speak, that generated that level of excitement and passion amongst entrepreneurs and amongst this community. And it was really great to have that feeling shared with so many great speakers on stage today. Um, as Colin mentioned, this is a paradigm shift. These are the things that really get everyone's entrepreneurial juices flowing. And I suspect there's going to be a lot more discussions of all different aspects of AI and ChatGPT in particular here in Startup Club going forward. So it's going to be an exciting time ahead. And also on behalf of Startup Club, I want to wish everyone a very happy, healthy, and safe holiday season, whatever you're celebrating. Hopefully you'll get some time to relax with your families and loved ones.
And I think we only scratched this. We'll have to run a show again on GPT in January. Thank you, everyone, and thanks for everyone on stage. We'll see you every Friday, 2 o'clock Eastern. Bye for now.